myself again, but it's the only way.
Good morning, welcome to NUFC Matters, and Happy New Year. There we go.
Happy New Year.
Bit of a different backdrop, but yeah, Happy New Year. Happy new transfer window. And Mick, great to see you, mate.
Yeah, and you, pal, and you.
Did you have a good festive season as best you could?
Yeah, very quiet as you can imagine. I don't think too many people these days are reveling quite as much as we used to once upon a time revel for one reasons or another. But no, just get through with it, get quietly through. And as you say, start today as January the 1st, start of 2022. And let's see what it means for each of us personally. And of course, as Newcastle United fans, most importantly, let's find out what happens for the next 31 days. Is it 31 days in January? I think. Yeah. Let's find out what those 31 days bring, and hopefully, an upturn in fortunes.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Mick, we've had lots of well-wishers and lots of people asking how you are. And look, we're taking it baby steps, I think is the best way to describe it.
Yes.
We're not pushing you to do shows. And if you want to do one, you're going to do one. But I just want to put this up, Mick. You kindly sent us this because I think it's just a little explanation as to what you're going through at the minute, Mick.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this. I mean, for anybody who's had a stroke or anybody who knows that they're in danger of a stroke or they've got family and friends who've got strokes, and then ultimately you end up struggling with aphasia, and this is what aphasia is. And a lot of people talk about Parkinson's, which is a terrible disease in itself, but aphasia is almost a silent loss because you don't physically see it. So I appear physically fine at this moment in time, but with aphasia, writing and speaking, understanding, remembering the words is very, very difficult on occasions. And the thing about it is there's, as it says there's no set timeline. Everybody can improve, everybody can get better. And my message would be help people, talk to people, don't be afraid of people. This is why I've stepped out today and for the last, say 3-4 weeks kindly with Steve and the lads to do this, because it helps. It can be a little bit embarrassing just learning that word there. And famously, one of the reasons I wanted to mention was last night for a couple of mates who sent me texts with question marks on them, and I had to double check, why are they questioning me? They were questioning me because I'd sent them a happy birthday reference. I'd sent them have a happy day, instead of Happy New Year. And that's an easy thing to do, instead of sending Happy New Year, sending happy birthday. But give people time, give people help, and please, it's aphasia. It's a nasty habit in many ways, but it is doable. Be positive with it, and hopefully give anybody loved ones, anybody as much help, because strokes are terrible things. I've been lucky in that physically and mentally I've not been quite as badly as hit with others. But just give people a bit of time, give people a bit of work, and hopefully let's try and help people along the way.
Yeah, Roger, hope you're doing well, mate. Happy New Year. Hi, Mick. My mum had a stroke last year. It took her a year, but she's back to her best now. So that just backs up what you're saying from Roger.
It is, and it might not happen initially. It's happened quite quickly for me in terms of my cognitive, the ways that I'm working. Other people, you might not get anything for 2 or 3 months, and then all of a sudden it'll click in again. Feel free at it. I've said to you before, Angus Loughran, old Stato from fantasy football back in the day, is a really, really good friend of mine. He's had the same affliction for the past 2 years now, and he's working with it. We're all working with it. So keep at it.
Yeah, keep at it indeed, and thanks to everybody for your well wishes.
Absolutely, thank you.
Read a lot of them on social media as well, I'm sure. Which is fantastic. Okay, let's look back, Mick, first, just to the Manchester United game.
Yes.
And obviously it's that was the last game that we played. We obviously have COVID within the camp now, and we'll come to that. But the Manchester United game was, I felt that was a major turning point. I think when we've had you on the show in the last few weeks, I've said, having gone to the games, that there's been 10 minutes here, there's been 20 minutes there of improvement. You can see that they're getting coached properly. You can see they're getting fitter. You can see the change in players like Shelby and Joe Linton. that Manchester United game felt like a huge turning point in our season, and it was disappointing not to get the win. But make no mistake about it, that was a team performance. The fans were behind them. That was Newcastle United, Mick.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to say, I probably jumped to the gun a little bit too much because, you know, like we all do, we all want the ultimate, don't we? We all want the most. We all want to win the game. We all want to get angry when games aren't won that we think we should have won. And I really genuinely thought we should have beaten Manchester United. And I'll make no bear of the fact that I thought Manchester United report. I thought that was the worst Manchester United team I think I've ever seen. I think they were absolutely dreadful, moaning at one another, really not putting it in at all. Wasn't quite sure what this whole business of the German coach is all about. Ronaldo, what's happening with him? But he's not our problem. He's not our problem. Let's think about that. But as I say, I was genuinely disappointed that we didn't win the game, and we should have won the game. We should have put it away at 2-0, and we'll talk with more about that in the next few minutes or so. But do you know what struck me in the last couple of days, Steve, is the fact that when I was watching Manchester United against Norwich City about a fortnight before we played at St James's, I thought Man United are terrible. But do you know what it is? Manchester United beat Norwich by 1-0. Subsequently, 2 days ago, whatever it was, again, this poor Manchester United side that I keep telling are terrible or loathsome or the worst you've ever seen for Manchester United. Who else have they beaten? They've beaten Burnley. So they've beaten Burnley and they've beaten Norwich against two teams that have been really helpful for us. And we've managed to get a point against Manchester United. So let's think about it. Let's actually say to ourselves, okay, it was disappointment that and I was guilty of this, as guilty of anybody, that I really thought we should have won it, and I was disappointed, and I was getting a bit excitable about how everybody thought it was fantastic, but I didn't think it was that great. But actually, in the scheme of things, the fact that this awful Manchester United have beaten Norwich and beaten Burnley, and we've done something better than that, we've at least got a point. And that is how bad it is at this minute in time, Steve. This is how desperate we all are at the bottom of the table. We have got to pick up points however we get them. So it doesn't matter how bad Manchester United were and how disappointed we were to win it. We've ended up with a point, and a point that Burnley didn't have and Norwich didn't have. And at the end of the day, after 38 days, if we're a point better off than Norwich and Burnley, who get relegated to the Championship, fair play. That was the point that did it. That was the night when, as you rightly say, they put it out against Manchester United. They put an effort in there. They put a team together that we haven't seen for a long, long time in black and white.
Was your heart in your mouth like everybody else's when Wilson went down and ASM went down?
And this is the point I was sort of making about the 1-0 to potentially 2-0 game in it. Again, not so much ASM, because I was never two. I still don't know, to be honest with you. I still don't know what his diagnosis is, but I think he's probably going to be okay. But Wilson looked a problem. And I was doing my nut, Steve. I was doing me nut, because he had Eddie Howe and the coaches on the dugout having a look at video monitors of what was happening to Wilson on the pitch. You had one of the physios out on the pitch. 1 minute he was out, then he was back in, then he was playing, then he wasn't playing. And I'm thinking, please, this is about 3 minutes left at the end of the first season, at the end of the first game, first half. Get him off and let's just settle about him. Now, obviously, Eddie Howe knows better than me, and I'll tell you who knows better than anybody at that football club, and that's Derek Wright. And I said to Ando afterwards, Derek and Ando and I, we've known each other for years, and Derek Wright wouldn't get something wrong. So I was a little bit perplexed with that. But the thing that really surprised me, and we've talked about Dwight Gayle for a long, long number of times over the past couple of years, Steve. But even when it was withdrawn with Callum Wilson a minute at the end of the first half, they put in Murphy instead of Wilson. And I'm thinking, you're taking off a centre forward, you're 1-0 up in the game, and put in a midfield player in there. I mean, I don't understand the logic. And then what happens? 2 minutes into the second half, 3 minutes into the second half, they've got a golden chance. And at the minute, we're trying to manufacture through some sort of centre forward, which turned out to be ASM. He misses the chance. It's gone. It's not 2-0. It ends up 1-1. We don't win the game. But my argument is, if we put Dwight Gayle in there, I'm sorry, I think a centre forward finishes that chance. So in a roundabout way, going back to what I was going to say a few moments ago, regardless of what happens in January at this minute in time, all of a sudden, if I didn't think in the first place that we probably needed somebody to help out Callum Wilson between now and May, we very definitely now need a centre forward in there, just in case Wilson is not available. Because again, Dwight Gayle now, as he was for Steve Bruce and now for Eddie Howe, doesn't seem to be. He doesn't even seem to be offered in options like that. There was a time, Steve, your centre forward goes down, you put a centre forward in there. That's what centre forwards do. Centre forwards win games. Dwight Gayle could very easily have won that game at 2-0, 3 points, happy days. Instead, it ends up with a winger turned centre half, turned centre forward, turned whatever, and the chance goes begging.
Mick, I mean, you've covered Newcastle for years, and look, and you've worked in the industry, you know football inside out, and I've watched it and I've commented and observed as well. My mindset on Dwight Gayle is it's one of three things. He's either done something behind the scenes, which the people find unforgivable, and that they want to get rid of him, which seems unlikely because they offered him a new contract and they extended his contract. Is it because he's got some kind of clause in his contract, if he plays X amount of games, he's got to be paid more? Or do subsequent managers, i.e. Steve Bruce and Eddie Howe, just not rate him? Or is it something different? Is he just not doing it in training? I'm scratching my head.
I cannot work the logic out, Steve, honestly, because as you say rightly, and it doesn't need to be me, it doesn't need to be anybody watching this, listening to this, doesn't need to be any one of 52,000 in that crowd at St James's Park. How do you work it out? It doesn't make any sense. What's the point of even having him on the bench for starters half the time? But more importantly than that, I don't care if they've got 500 billion. I'm not care if I had 500 billion in terms of being a football club owner. If I had 10 quid to spend, the first time I'd get out of the availability to get some more money into the football club would be to get rid of it. Dwight Gayle must be, I don't know, what, 50,000, 60,000 a week, maybe. What's the point? At least it gives a bit of money to spend in January. Even so, this is the worst. This is the worst scenario for me. I can understand it if maybe you don't rate him. I can understand it if you think, okay, he's not good enough. But if you just keep doing that and keep spending the money game after game after game after game, I mean, he's chucking away hundreds of millions of pounds worth of money at Newcastle United. What's the point? Get rid of him. Get somebody else in. Get somebody who might at least have a chance, or certainly give somebody a go who is seen by what was Steve Bruce, now is Eddie Howe, has got a go, has got a game in him. I don't understand it. I do not understand it.
Yeah, people in the chat don't understand it. Steve Middleman saying, he hasn't been picked by three managers. Roger pointed to the fact that might have been some kind of alleged dispute between him and Graham Jones. But again, it doesn't make any sense.
All the more reason, Steve, just to get rid. We're big boys. We're not sentimental about this. We're not. There is nothing sentimental in football. Believe me. If you're surplus to requirements, off you go. You're on your way. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it keeps banging on. And the latest, we thought, okay, maybe because of Steve Bruce, maybe now Eddie Howe will say to himself, okay, let's get rid of this, or at least give him a go. But when you've got your number one centre forward out injured, and you need a replacement to try and keep in the game, to try and give yourself the option of getting this, because we all knew it. I mean, you knew it, I knew it, everybody at St James's Park knew it, everybody sitting there knew it. We need a second. We need a second. We are going to concede a goal. We've been conceding goals left, right, and centre. We as sure as eggs are eggs that Newcastle United will concede a game. So we needed 2-0. We needed a second against Manchester United. You get a golden chance at your centre forward or any centre forward to score the goal early in the second half, put it to bed. And what do? You end up with a winger who's got his left and his feet around about one another, and the keeper's made the save, and the chance has gone, and it ends up 1-1.
Yeah. What about Ronaldo in the game? Keith's asking. He says, "Do you think he should have been sent off?"
I think, to be honest, Steve, the whole business of Manchester United was not really of our concern. It just got bizarre. It got bizarre. I mean, I kept watching it. You know, you're more convinced with hoping that we can finally get a second goal or certainly stay enough in the game and not concede a goal ourselves, because you just kept looking at them and thinking, this is just there. It's there for the taking. You know how many times over the years have we gone to either Old Trafford or to St James's in recent years and thought, we'll get nothing here. We'll get nothing here. This is going to be a real tough game. From minute one, you just thought to yourself, as long as we're at it, and they were at it, they were okay. There was everything about them. You know, they've got a decent enough goal. You just think, just keep looking at Manchester United. Keep at Fernandes moaning. Keep at Ronaldo moaning. You know, Maguire, who looks terrible half the time. Varane, who was supposed to be, you know, the key lynch pig as far as they're concerned, you know, signing from Real Madrid, he looks terrible. And you just think, without exception of De Gea, they're awful. They're awful. Let's just keep happy, keep lucky, keep going, and you'll win the game. But
yeah, Varane does look awful. I mean, he reminds us of Varane. Actually, he's only a couple of letters away from the same. Absolute waste of money. Yano asks a question about Varane. He says the handball incident not looked at by VAR. He went, it's a penalty. I mean, VAR looks like it's switched off all the time at our ground. It really does.
Well, funny enough, I was saying to somebody yesterday, if there's one thing, or say one thing, you know, what we would most like for 2022 as far as football is concerned, first and foremost, of course, from us and from our point of view, is half a dozen top players in January, and a nice comfortable end of season, you know, staying somewhere comfortable in the Premier League and build on it next year. But the second big story for football is, for God's sake, get this VAR sorted in the next, you know, the remainder of January and February, because it's becoming ludicrous now. It's becoming absolute madness. And it's not. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, it's Newcastle this and it's Newcastle that, and we have been, you know, culpable on occasions. But I mean, there are some weeks you watch it, it's happening left, right, and centre. Bizarre penalties, bizarre offsides, bizarre this, bizarre that. They at this minute in time don't seem to whether to twist or stick in terms of how they make the decision. Do the referee makes the decision? Do VAR make the decision? Does it go to the monitor at the touchline? Nobody seems to know all of a sudden what's going to happen with VAR, and it's going to be, and if it keeps going, Steve, it's going to end up as VAR was introduced in the first place. If you remember, it was introduced at the first place because they kept saying that without technology, somebody somewhere will not win an FA Cup final, or somebody somewhere will be defeated, and somebody somewhere will be relegated in a Premier League because a game was completely and utterly null and void because of a bad injury. So they brought in VAR, and now we're in even worse of a situation where they are doing exactly that. They are running the risk of tilting football matches in favour of one team or another, simply because they've got the decisions wrong.
Yeah, Mick, you did send us a little quote, which, of course, I got as a season ticket holder from Mia, Dad and Amanda. You picked out the paragraph from the statement from the club, we have very important fixtures ahead of us in January and a January transfer window. We've worked tirelessly to prepare for, so let's face our challenges head on. I mean, I read it. Look again. It's
Did you fully understand it, mate?
I got to be honest.
The one thing that I just get slightly, and this might just be Amanda Staveley just being a little bit, I don't know, I mean, this is a man who's got aphasia, so I mean, I'm struggling more than anybody, but it's just that word fixtures, very important fixtures ahead. Does that mean fixtures signings? Does that mean fixtures transfers, or does that mean fixtures Watford, Leeds, Everton? Maybe, I don't know whether that had been made prior to the Southampton game. Does that mean fixture games, fixtures matches, rather than fixtures personnel?
Right, I took that as fixtures games. That was the way I read it.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to slate the new owners for being communicative, because it's the one thing in the short time that I've spent with them over the last few years, where they've said what are the big things that we need to do, and I said you need to communicate with the supporters, and they're doing that. They're doing it on Twitter. They're doing it via email, via the official club, the official club contact with all the season ticket holders. They're doing it on their website. They've communicated more since October the 7th with us than we had in 14 years with the last owner. Absolutely. So ultimately, I think, I just think it's, I think it's positive. The very first second I read it, I thought it was a title, or she was talking about signings. I thought fixtures meant signings. So I thought, completely wrongly, for whatever reasons, they are very important. Let's just use, instead of word fixtures, signings. Very important signings ahead. We have worked tirelessly, and let's face the challenges ahead. Which sort of, I thought at the time, meant that they've been working at deals. They're facing up to the possibility of getting these deals through, and that they're very important deals throughout January. I don't know. But then I suddenly rereaded it, and I thought, is this basically saying we've got some tough games in January, we're going to work tirelessly, and we've got some stiff challenges ahead, which doesn't feel the same as we need what I think we need, and that is 5 or 6 players to get hold of January and get this squad improved. Well, this takes us to Steve Middlemas's point, which I did pin at the top of the YouTube chat just so I didn't lose it. And he said, and this is quite potent considering we're talking about the communication from the club. He goes, how important is the transfer window for the new owners in respect of the opinion of the fan base going forward? If signings don't come, will the honeymoon be over? Now, that's a great question, Steve, and it's something which we have to consider, because communication's great when things are going okay, and they've bought the club, they've done what they said they were going to do, but there is an expectation amongst supporters that there's going to be players coming in this transfer window. Despite it being a hard window, Newcastle are big hitters. They've got money to spend. Potentially,
Steve, potentially.
And they've got money for wages. You would like to think there's going to be something significant early in the window. Now, the longer it goes without a player coming in, and I just think, I agree with Steve. Do you? I think there could be a bit of negativity.
Well, I'll go back to what you said, and I'll concede what you said, but you'll agree with what I've said on at least 3 or 4 occasions in the past couple of months. You're right when you say that the communication has been better. But let's be honest, Steve, when you've been working with Mike Ashley for 14 years, anything is going to be better than communication. Basically, there was no communication. There was zero communication. So let's be honest. They could literally do 1-2 second piece a month for the next 5 years, and that would be better than what we ever had from Mike Ashley. So it's relative in terms of what is communication and what does communication appear to what Mike Ashley used to perform. Now, as a result, I have said, and I'll still maintain it, I still think we probably deserve and should have had a little bit better and a little bit more communication from them. As much as anything, because of this key point, Steve, and that is we don't really understand the regime. We don't. I've said it a million times. We've seen Mirdad. We've seen Amanda Staveley. They are front and centre at St James's. Black and white scarves, away games. They are genuinely doing a fantastic PR job, but they are only 10% of this entire package. You know, the big money, the big people who are going to deliver what January comes in terms of, we hope 5 or 6 big hitters to get this squad back where it needed to be. We don't know an awful lot about them. So that's why that statement that's been made in the last 48 hours by Amanda Staveley, I'm still not sure what it means. If they quite certainly turn around and said, okay, we are looking at our options in January. We are looking to pursue signings and pursue improvement to the squad in January. I could live with that. But if I don't know, and if I'm not sure, and as you've just said there, what happens if we get to January the 7th, January the 14th, January the 21st? We don't know. You know, we're hearing about Kieran Trippier. I know people are getting excited about Kieran Trippier. Kieran Trippier was a very, very fine fullback, 4 or 5 years ago. He was a top England player. He went from Burnley. He went to Tottenham. He scored some fantastic goals. He scored free kicks. He could put his foot through a ball. He's very, very, fine at what he does. And as a result, ended up in Spain. But I've just got a feeling that Kieran Trippier fancies the boat, going back to the UK, leaving Spain, and here's an option. Let's pay £150,000 a week to go to Newcastle United. Now, if Kieran Trippier is one of 5 or 6 signings in January, happy days. He's a top player, and he has to be better than anybody else we have available as a left fullback once the end of the January window develops. But between now and then, I'm sorry, I don't want Kieran Trippier for a centre-half. I don't want another centre-half. I don't want a centre-forward. I don't want a scheming midfield player. And I don't want now a Callum Wilson replacement at centre-back. Then I'll take Kieran Trippier. But we don't know. We don't know what's happening. So I agree with you on the communication to a degree, but I would still like to hear a little bit more.
Big shout out to our sponsors, as always, Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN, they come up at the top of the search list. Thanks, guys, for your sponsorship. And thanks for coming into 2022 with us as well. Thanks also to Scott and the lads at skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Inquiries on email, inquiries at skipsbins.com, and website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245. And to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen needs. They are based on Heaton Road in Newcastle. Just Google Arcot Interiors and they will come up again at the top of the search list. Thanks also to John, who's in the chat, qtechshop.co.uk, the guy who also runs our website, nufcmatters.com, and Jab Signature, who make our flyers, jabsignature.co.uk. We've had over 200 new subscribers in the last 48 hours. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner to join the cult. And it is free. We do 7 shows a week, and we do a little bit extra as well, as you know. So please subscribe by hitting the Newcastle Legends logo. And if you are already a subscriber, you know the drill by now. Just hit the thumb up under the video to like the video. Over 200 watching at the minute. It would be nice to get 200 thumbs up. Click the share to share to your other social media. That can share to your Facebook, your Twitter, or your LinkedIn. And drop into the comments box if you want to ask a question and get involved. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Usually goes up there 24 hours after, which means you can listen to it on your radio, listen to it on your phone if you're out and about. And if you want to join the cult, John at QTech kindly set up the QR code. You can simply scan your phone over that and it takes you directly to the website. You can enter or join the cult by paying a one-off membership fee, and that gets you into our monthly prize draw. I'm not sure what John's got lined up for this one, but we do the monthly live draw on the Three Amigos show on a Friday night, so keep an eye out for that. And last show for this show as well, Peter Beardsley coming to the Time Theatre on Westcott Road in Newcastle. Tickets still available on Voucher and on Groupon for that. And should be a good afternoon. And don't forget as well, the NUFC Food Bank has a virtual bucket which you can regularly donate to 365 days of the year. nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk, which has raised a hell of a lot of money again in the last 12 months, and we thank you for that. And our T-shirt, Big Joe Linton, which is what we do every week. We always put a T-shirt up. Is up for grabs on my Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter at Steve Wraith, it's a pinned tweet at the top. You can bid underneath for that, and we will announce the winner of that on the Three Amigos on Friday night. So let's get back to the questions. And somebody had put one up there a little bit earlier, and I'm just trying to find out find it again. Oh yeah, this is it. Gary Warren, Happy New Year, mate. He goes, what's your views on Southampton fans kicking off again about the cancelled game? They deem it unfair that we can strengthen and demand we aren't allowed to field the new players. I mean, I've seen the fallout on social media, and I'm sure you have on Twitter as well. Everton fans kicking off. Now Southampton fans kicking off. Yet when other games get postponed, it's like, oh, well, you know, poor lads, they've got COVID. But with us, it's a conspiracy again.
Well, do you know what my argument of the situation would be? Was the exact opposite, and I'll tell you why. And I think this makes more sense than these people who are coming up with the ideas that there's a conspiracy theory towards Newcastle United, and who or why and what we might do between now and April or May or March or whatever. My argument actually was the day before the Manchester United game, when there was a question mark over Everton. What seemed to me to be a logical thing that was going to happen was that Everton, who'd already called off a game because of COVID, that Rafa was going to look at it and think, hang on a minute, Newcastle are all over the place. They've got one defeat in 19. They've now got Callum Wilson out. They've potentially got ASM out. They are never in any shape at all going to say to themselves, right, we're going to call off the game against Newcastle. We want to play the Newcastle game because Newcastle are in a position they're in to take the best of at this minute in time. And I'm sure that would be the same of me with Southampton. If I was Everton or if I was Southampton, whether you like it or not, you're playing a team who are the second worst team in the division. You've won only one of 19. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, surely you make hay while the sun shines. You know, Southampton are half decent when they want to be. Everton are half decent when they want to be. Newcastle are all over the place at the moment. So why on earth would you want to try and make the most of the situation? Because even if we might or might not sign half a dozen in January, what there's at least showing at this minute in time a little bit of a semblance of improvement from Eddie Howe. So, you know, in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, you know, maybe we'll improve a little bit more regardless of the signings. But at this minute in time, having just watched them again against Manchester United, okay, they were improved, but, you know, again, they have failed to win a game of the Premier League. So I don't get that at all. I can see why, perversely, if you're an Everton fan or a Southampton fan, you might think, oh, you know what's going to happen? In March and April, we'll come round and they'll have a £50 million striker, two £40 million centre halves, and a £60 million central midfielder. But we don't know that's going to happen. And in the immediate, at this minute in time, what you've got is a team who are struggling. So if it was me, I'd say to Southampton and I'd say to Everton, play them now. Play them while you can.
Kenzie's asking, saying Happy New Year to you as well. Just
Happy
wondering who Mick would have through the transfer door first. I guess it's difficult to name a player, but I guess which position would you like to see strengthened first as well, Mick?
I was going to say this before we even started, Steve, because and this isn't just Newcastle. This is just football in general, and increasingly more and more than back in the day. But over the years, you've backed yourself crazy trying to work out who's going to sign, who's not going to sign. He's coming, he's not coming. I've heard a rumor. I've heard this rumor. I've heard him. It's not even worth worrying about. You just they will, going back to the statement from Amanda Staveley, they're working tirelessly. They're trying to get about their business. So let's just hope they're getting about their business. Let's hope they're doing whatever they're doing. Whether an interesting, comment that we still haven't touched upon is this director of football. I mean, is that going to happen in January? Because we're still not sure who's going to transfer, who's going to make the signings. But going back to the point that was made, yes, there's no point thinking about exact numbers, and certainly specific numbers in terms of players. But for me, as I've just touched upon already, you want two centre-backs, absolutely without a doubt. You want a scheming midfield player, somebody who can develop and work the ball in central midfield. And now, even if we didn't think we had one before Callum Wilson, we very definitely need a centre-forward as well. So those are your four. For me, your absolute four requirements at this minute in time are two centre-backs, a central midfield player, and a centre-forward. And as we've said, and people have said, since 19th century, 20th century, and now 21st century football, it's the spine of a side. It's all about the spine of a side. I could, if I wanted to, but I won't. I could almost throw a case in for the last part of the spine, which is the goalkeeper. But I think the goalkeeper probably is okay at this minute in time, but he's not exactly doing himself any great favours on occasions.
No, I would agree. Quick one on this, Mick. Mark's managed to get tickets for the Cambridge FA Cup game, but he says he feels it's close to a sellout. I'm not sure. I mean, sometimes they only open part of the ground for these games. But I would imagine there'll be a huge demand for tickets because people aren't going to be able to get into Premier League games. So,
absolutely.
And a lot of people will want to take kids because it's a tenner and a fiver.
I'll bet you £1 million, Steve. That's a sellout. I bet you.
Well, I genuinely feel it will be, Mick. I think it will be. I think people will want to go. They'll want to take the kids, and it's such a good deal. To see a tenner and a fiver, I think it doubles on the day of the game. Is it cup run something you would like to see? I mean, me personally, I think winning games breeds competence. And, I know. And I Premier League survival is the most important thing. But I'd love to see Newcastle go on a little cup run as well. I think it would do the competence a world of good.
It is the absolute burning question. And I just can't see any reason why you wouldn't. I mean, I never ever thought, regardless from time immemorial, that anybody should ever think about what you would do about the FA Cup third day of the football season is the greatest, isn't it? I mean, it's along with opening day of the season or Boxing Day, but that weekend that is next weekend, FA Cup third round day, absolute die in the stone. I mean, it's a fantastic. All right, it's spoiled now. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever. But the FA Cup is a key day. I think we just have to console ourselves that whoever it's been over the years, whether it be Steve Bruce, whether it be Rafa, whether it be any one of half a dozen managers over the years, you just know that they were told in no uncensored terms by Ashley that there should be no FA Cup run, and they should be. I mean, there's been famous instances where actually they've pulled the plug of games. I can't see Eddie Howe doing this. I can't see the regime doing this. I think that it makes no logic whatsoever. I could see it if maybe we got to the 5th or 6th round and we were still 4 points shy of the second bottom in the table and running risk of getting relegation. But at this minute in time, go about it. We all sat and watched the draw, Steve. You're just praying, home, 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 home. It comes out home. It comes out Cambridge. Happy days. Don't want to be disrespectful to Cambridge, but that's what you want. You want to get through the third door. You want to get through the fourth door. When the fourth round comes around again, you want a nice, easy one at home. Do it in the fifth. Do it in the sixth. If you remember about 98, 99, we got to cup finals at Wembley, and we were so happy with some of the draws we got. So we've been blessed to get Cambridge. Let Cambridge have a great day. Let Cambridge have 5,000-10,000 at St James's. Let them have a fantastic day. Let the black and whites turn out. Let kids see the games that they don't get to see because of Premier League. Let's have a good day. Let's beat Cambridge 2-0, and let's get through to the fourth round of the FA Cup, and then hopefully get 5-6 semi-final and final.
Yeah. Steve Middlemas again says, do you think we should have one combined fans forum on the board for information? There's a few groups out there all hoping for input. I mean, I'll say that I feel that all fans should be listened to, and I understand why people might feel there's a necessity for a fans representative, a fans spokesman, but believe you me, with our fan base, it's very difficult in that respect. And I've been there, but you go back 22 years now, when I was fans liaison officer. It's a thankless task, and you've got to be working. I think the only difference now is that we've actually got owners who would probably be able to work with a fans representative and say a committee. But I don't think Rogan Taylor was a million miles away from getting it right with having an electoral, a proper election run by the electoral authorities, and having fans put themselves forward and fans voting for those supporters. I think that was ahead of its time. I think if you brought that back again now, but you did the same for the actual fans liaison officer rather than appointing somebody like they did with me, which is what rubbed people up the wrong way. I personally feel it would work, but you have to have a democratic process, because then, people can't argue. And I think, so where do you draw the line? Well, maybe it just goes to season ticket holders. Maybe season ticket holders can put themselves forward, and you have a representative from the East stand, a representative from the Melbourne stand, a representative from the Gallagher, and a representative from the Leazes, and maybe it's a corporate representative, and then a representative from United for Pride, a representative from the Newcastle United Disabled Supporters Association. There was 12, Mick, on the committee, I think, of the fans liaison. But I think if you tick all the boxes, all the diversity boxes, all of those supporters, and I think if people do want to say, then that's the way it should be. Because I think if you start going down the route of saying Newcastle United Supporters Trust should be the only channel because it's a trust, and the FA, Premier League, and everybody has to deal with trusts, and the football club has to deal with a trust, I think that's the wrong way. I think you do it this way. I think it works better. But that's my opinion. What about you, Mick?
I think the biggest problem is, Steve, that you touched upon it there, that the word democratic, and what's democratic. There's not an awful lot democratic when the internet is involved these days, and people have the availability and they have the opportunity to go and create their own little world, and they can go out and they could have numbers of 10, they could have numbers of 20, they could have numbers of 10,000, they could have numbers of 20,000. The other thing that I'm never quite sure about, and I might be guilty of this, and I might be completely wrong in terms of I'm not at this minute in time aware of what's happening, but I don't really understand what the supporter benefits are. I'm not quite sure what we need as supporters to roll up on a Monday night once a month or whatever and be able to say, right, we need this, and this. You're not giving us this, and that. I'm not sure what the debate is. I'm not sure what the argument is. Once upon a time, again, I might be a dinosaur with this, Steve, but I can understand that back in the day we need buses. I can understand we need, trains. I understand we need tickets. I understand, we need facilities. I understand the bars aren't good enough. I understand we should have scarves. We should have a souvenir shop. We should have all the antiquated things that we used to have. But we all have that now. We have everything available. We have fantastic seats. We have fantastic bars. We have clubs. We have trains. We have coaches. We can get tickets. We can get. I'm not sure what quite we need. I'm not sure what we're arguing about, unless supporters just want to be busy and want to get into meetings with people who are probably more important, doing things that are more important with the football club.
Yeah, it's something which is always going to cause debate, and a few suggestions there. I think I saw something from Tom Lynch. He basically said maybe we need a fans panel with representatives from NUST, NUFC Matters, True Faith, Gallagher Shots United with Pride, and all the different groups. It's no, I think it has to be an election, Tom.
I think if, as you say there, the designated bodies could genuinely come up with something that they at that minute in time felt that is needed. That's needed. There's something that the club aren't doing that supporters want. There's something that is missing for the supporters of this football club. There are supporters in this football club, they do a fantastic job for this football club. So any benefits that the football club can in turn give to the supporters, I'm sure they would. So, if they can work amongst themselves, if the trust or whoever can say, okay, do you know what it is? I thought the other day we were doing X and X, just even things like the flags, let the club, study, take up the finance for the flags or whatever. Just something that they can come up with that will help supporters. But as I said, I'm just not sure what supporters want that badly from their own football club.
Yeah, Guy, this is a great message. He says, do you know that the Asia magpie is Saudi's only endemic bird, and Aramco have an initiative to save it from extinction? He says that's quite fitting.
They are. No, you see, there's a good one. Yeah, there's one off the top of my head. Let's have a magpie. Let's have, in the same way that Crystal Palace have an eagle. Yeah. And I remember Benfica. Did you go to Benfica for the Benfica game? And that eagle swoops. It Brilliant. Is absolutely mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. We should have a magpie. We should have a proper magpie that we could, I don't know, just let it fly. Let it fly at the start of games. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, the magpie bird. I don't know. There's one.
We need to get rid of the dead pigeon and the Gallagher first, mate.
Never mind the pigeon. Get the magpie.
Get the eagle in to get rid of the pigeon.
Yeah, not Monty either.
Not Monty, no. Roger says the owners have paid a lot of money to buy the club. We as fans should trust them to make the right decision.
Right.
Roger, fair play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom says it was tongue-in-cheek, his comment. Fair enough, mate. Chris says, if we don't manage to bring in new players for whatever reason, should the panic button be pressed regarding the new owners?
It'll be interesting. It will be interesting, Steve, which is why, as I say, I don't want to be critical of them. And I am, God bless them for coming round. And particularly Amanda Staveley, just keep working and working and working and not refusing to say that I want that football club. I want to buy that football club. I want to make that football club happy again. I want to make that football club exciting again. And we've done that. We've done that hard bit. We've got rid of Ashley. We've got rid of Sports Direct signs. That ground is fantastic now. I heard Jonathan Walters, there's an ex-player from other football clubs saying it's criminal if that football team aren't in the Premier League next year, because look at that. Look at that. And that's what it means. That's what it means, not just to us, but means to football clubs. But I'm sorry, Steve, it will undo all that fantastic work if we don't miss the opportunity, or do miss the opportunity in January, not to get the players we need and keep this team back in the Premier League and work on the base of next summer and then long-term 4 years, 5 years, because we know, everybody said that's how long it'll take. It'll take years. But what we need to do in the priority at this minute in time is to sort January out. I'm sorry, I keep saying it, Steve. It's not down to Eddie Howe. It's not down to 52,000. It's not down to tactics. It'll end up down to us having enough good players, because we haven't got good enough players at this minute in time. We are conceding goals left, right, and centre. And believe it or not, the fact that this is the amazing bit, Steve. Even though we've only won one of 19 games, Norwich 10, Newcastle 11, Burnley 11, Watford 13, Leeds 16. We're still in the shout. It's not even beyond possibility. It's get a good, decent run together, get a decent squad together. All right, we might end up 13th or 14th. I don't care. As long as we survive, as long as we stay in the Premier League, and then let's work on it. But first and foremost, they have got to start signing players in this January. I know it's January the 1st, and I know we're all panicking already. There's 31 days to go in this month, but it's got to happen, Steve. It's got to happen.
Yeah, John says, think we need to give the new owners time to change things.
Absolutely, I agree.
And there's loads of opportunities to increase their commercial income and improve facilities. Julie basically just says she's a counsellor, and she says committees for committee's sake can be death, and it causes problems.
100%, great point. And I've joked about that for years, about the Judean People's Front and the People's Front of Judea, and this black and white case and that black and white suit. It's a death knell of Newcastle in the past. All of, one's working in one television, one's working in one telephone club, one's working in another bar, another one's working in this bar. They all think that they're running the show. Too many people. Yeah.
Just looking back on 2021, Mick, briefly. I mean, what was the moment of the year for you? Was it the takeover?
Absolutely, without 100%. Without 100%, it has to be, Steve. I mean, somebody asked me in the week. I did a piece about my time at Newcastle, and somebody said, what was your key game, and I made the point that once upon a time, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I used to sit and think, well, was it going to be Dinamo Zagreb? Was it going to be Anfield? Was it going to be here? Was it going to be there? All of a sudden, Steve, in terms of my favourite game, it can only be Manchester United 5-0 and Philippe Albert, etc. Because all of a sudden, for the last 14, 15 years, we've had absolutely nothing. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah. It's almost like that sticks out now. Once upon a time, there were a number. Now, there can't be anymore. Now, as you say to me about 2021, what's the case been of 2021? There has been absolutely no. If there hadn't have been a new ownership in 2021, the two of us would have been sat here going nothing, absolutely nothing. It would have been absolutely nothing. It would have been nothing but mediocre. It would have been awful. It would have been awful. But at least these people, as I said earlier, have come along and been brave enough and bold enough to take this football club on. I have no doubt that they have some motives. I have no doubt that they will look at it, and it's not all about being fondly to the nation of the Black and White Army in the Northeast. They will have some movements and some ideas themselves, but fair play to them. They have come along and delivered what nobody previously had delivered. He's gone. This football club is a happier place in 2022 than it ever was in 2021. So that is, without a shadow of a doubt, the number one issue for the last year.
What about your player of the year? I mean, it was hardly a player. It was hardly a season of content. The previous season, another relegation battle, which I guess was turned on its head by the cute loan signing of Joe Willock, who of course scored some crucial goals. Yeah. ASM, of course, gets people out of their seat, but often frustrates, as well as excites. Callum Wilson, was bought to score goals, and despite his poor injury record, has done okay when he's been playing on the pitch. Is there anybody else who stands out for you? Dubravka, when he was, the last season as well, was a match winner. Who was it? I
just think about to the conversations we had and everybody had at the end of last season, because that's all we can build on. And yes, Joe Willock was in a real hot space, and and there was a definite argument at the end of the season that he was potentially player of the season, without a doubt. But I have to say, I did believe at the time that it would have been almost impossible for Joe Willock to follow that through. Players have hot streaks. They do have hot streaks, particularly midfield players. The great Shearer of this world had hot streaks, and then he had cold ones as well. But so Joe Willock was I never believed, and he was and Steve Bruce was in a really tough position because, basically, Ashley said, you've got 25 million. That's all you've got. Arsenal knew that. Arsenal said, okay, well, if you want 25 million, you're going to have to spend all of it on Joe Willock. There's no way that Steve Bruce could have been able to not sign Joe Willock. He would have been lynched by the fans, quite rightly. Plus, the young man deserved it as well. 25 million wasn't a huge amount of money for somebody these days for Joe Willock. But I think Steve Bruce probably knew it. We all knew it, that it was unlikely that Willock was going to be that good, for that period of time again. And on top of that, the 10, 15 million that he would have liked to have signed for a couple of centre-halves, he couldn't do it because all the money had been spent on Joe Willock. And that's unfair on Joe Willock as well. But to go back to it, over the year, there is no doubt to me that the best player is Callum Wilson. And I stand by what I've seen enough of Callum Wilson this year and since he arrived at the football club. I'll go as far as to say, and I've said it online a couple of times, I think he's been potentially and still could go on potentially with a little issue of his injury. I think he's the best since Shearer. I think he's the best Shearer in terms of the way that he behaves himself, the way that he plays. He should be captain of the side. He should undoubtedly be captain of the side. He's a proper player, a proper human being. He's a very, very good player as well. And if he was fit and if he was regular, he scores. He doesn't go out at 44 minutes against Manchester United, Steve, and he wins that second. He wins that second game. He wins it too. We win 2-0. He finishes. He puts the ball away, and we win the game 3 points. As it is, he's injured again, but he, for me, no shadow of a doubt, is the best player of 2021 for me.
Formal bid been put in by Newcastle United. Breaking news on Sky, Mick, for right. Kieran Trippier. So Newcastle have made a move already for Trippier, which I think has been the worst kept secret in football, to be fair.
And it makes it in some ways, I have to say, I think it's Kieran Trippier. He's 31. Wants to get back to Spain, wants to get back from Spain, he's at a big football club. There will be a big money involved, probably in the reasons of 150,000 a week. He's a good player. He's better than any fullback we have at this minute in time. So we think. I mean, we haven't seen him in Spain for the last 2 years, but he's a fine player. But at this minute in time, for me, I need 2 centre-halves, I need a centre-back, and I need a centre-forward before I need Kieran Trippier. If Kieran Trippier at the 31st of January is one of 5 or 6 others, Steve, I'll hold my hand up and I'll say, fantastic. They got the deal done, because you do need to get them whenever you can. But as long as Kieran Trippier turns out to be only one of 2 or 3 and they're not the key players we need, then I'm sorry, Kieran Trippier isn't particularly, at this minute in time, a huge bonus for the rest of this season.
Listen, for me, big name. It'd be a good addition. He's a quality player.
Absolutely.
And I genuinely think Newcastle are going to do business. I think if we can send a message out now that a player is going to come across the line in these first couple of days, Newcastle are in business. And I think that's what I'd be happy about. So
and what you hope as well, and I think you've said that on a roundabout way there as well. What good players do, and he is a good player, is they breed other good players, you know? So even if just Kieran Trippier on his own as a left back turns up today or turns up tomorrow, 2 or 3 others who are, thinking twice about, do I want to go to Newcastle?
Exactly.
Okay. I see Kieran Trippier at the training ground. So I see Kieran Trippier, then I see Callum Wilson, then I see ASM, then I see John Joe Shelby, then I see Dubravka. And then we get to sort of Wednesday, Thursday of next week, and X, Y, and Z appear. And then they think, and this is what happened at Newcastle. You know it, we know it, I happened. This is what happened. It spread. Suddenly at Maiden Castle, the lads were there, and somebody else turned up. And somebody else turned up. And then they all start phoning each other. Have you seen who's coming today? KK's got so-and-so. Terry Max with Tino at the airport. Blah, 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 blah. It spreads. So, as I say, while for his own, at this minute in time, for his own individuality as a left fullback, I'm not huge about Kieran Trippier. But if Kieran Trippier as a top player gets another centre-half who he knows, who's played with in the past for England or whatever, and the pair of them have worked together, then all of a sudden there's a centre-back in there. And then they get a centre midfielder, think, do you know what it is? I used to play against him, and him and Trippier weren't half good at centre. I'm coming there as well. Let's hope, Steve.
I'm smiling already, and he hasn't even signed yet.
Absolutely.
He hasn't even signed yet. I'm laughing at Charlie Bennett.
But that's what we need. That's what we need. We need to start smiling. We need to smile. We're smiling about what's happening off the field. We're looking at St. James's with the flags and 52,000. We're smiling inwardly. We're not smiling outwardly at the minute. We need to start smiling outwardly, and we'll start smiling outwardly when an ex-England midfield player is playing at left back, and then another one comes in at centre back, and then we get another centre forward, and Callum Wilson gets back fit again, and ASM, pulls his finger out and starts doing it consistently, etc., etc. And before you know it, we're out the bottom 3 and we're halfway.
Yeah, and I think there'll be other players who will come as well. I can see other players coming off the back of that. I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. 100%. 100%. I can see other players coming. Botman, is a potential. I know Gini Wijnaldum's been suggested. We'll finish with this. KC says, fell across this channel this morning. Fab to hear you again, Mick. I remember asking you to produce a cassette of your commentary of Newcastle scoring. Priceless and very generous of you. Lovely. Thank you, KC.
All right. Thank you. I can't remember it, but you are very welcome. My favorite ever of that, and this is not me blowing myself up, but this is what they mean to me. These people. I got a call one morning at Metro, an old fella, and he said, "Is that Mick Laws?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you think you could get me the commentary of the Philippe Albert 5-0 goal?" I said, "Of course I will. Of course I will." I said, "Just as a matter of interest." She said, "My husband died last week, and I want to play him at the funeral." And God bless him. I met him. She came into Swalwell. I gave him a little cassette, and then on the day of the cremation and the funeral, they played the Philippe Albert goal. Unbelievable, fantastic.
Amazing.
They are a different breed. They are a different breed.
No, they are, mate. Listen, continue with your recovery.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you again next week, mate. We'll be in touch to sort out the date. And as I say, Mick, all the best for the new year. Good luck.
And I'll tell you what I'll do. What we'll do is we'll say it now. The Beardsley at the Time Fest, where the Time Theatre. We'll do that. We'll do that. Definite.
Great stuff, Mick.
Okay.
Fantastic, mate.
And that'll be a way to really perfect way to talk about what's happened at the end of January. And hopefully we'll be smiling that night as well as we'll be smiling at what's happening at St. James's as well.
Top man. Have a good week.
Right.
Take care. I'll be back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock with Holly, talking Newcastle United. Look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks to everybody in the chat and the moderators. Take care, Mick.
See you later. Cheers. Bye.
attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's